My husband cheated while I was pregnant. Years later, he begged me for help. The night my husband begged me not to leave him, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because 12 years earlier, while I was 8 months pregnant with our daughter, he had looked me straight in the eyes and told me I was too emotional for suspecting him. Now he was standing in my kitchen, shaking, crying, and asking me for a favor. "Please, Emily, you're the only person who can save me." I stared at the man who had destroyed my trust when I needed him most. Then I said something he never expected. "You're right, I can save you." I paused. "But I don't think I will. My name is Emily. In 12 years ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. My husband, Daniel, and I had been together for 6 years. We had a small house in Ohio, 2 reliable cars, and a baby girl on the way. Daniel wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. But I believed he loved me. That belief started cracking during my 3rd trimester. He began coming home late. At first it was once or twice a week. Then it became almost every night. Whenever I asked what was happening, he had an answer. Work. Clients. Management problems. I wanted to believe him because I was 8 months pregnant, exhausted, and terrified of becoming a mother. So I ignored the little things. The unfamiliar perfume on his jacket. The sudden password on his phone. The way he started taking calls outside. Then one Thursday night, I found a receipt in his car. A hotel. $247. I confronted him. He stared at me for several seconds. Then he sighed. "Emily, seriously." That response hurt more than the receipt. I asked him who he had been with. He became angry. "You're pregnant, you're stressed, you're imagining things." And somehow, he convinced me that I was the problem. 3 weeks later, I went into labor. Our daughter Lily was born at 2:14 in the morning. I remember holding her for the first time. She was tiny, red-faced, crying. And I remember thinking, nothing can ever hurt this little girl. I was wrong. Because the next morning, Daniel's phone lit up beside my hospital bed. One message. From someone named Sarah. It said, "I missed last night already, when can I see you again?" My entire body went cold. I didn't confront him immediately. I waited. When he returned from getting coffee, I showed him the message. His face changed. There was no anger this time. No excuses. Just silence. Finally he whispered, "It's over." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You mean it happened?" He looked down. "Yes." "How long?" He didn't answer. "Daniel, how long?" "Almost a year." "Almost a year." While I was pregnant. While we were choosing baby names. While I was buying a crib. While I was lying beside him every night believing I was loved. He had been seeing another woman. For almost a year. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. I wanted him to feel the same pain I felt. But my daughter was sleeping beside me. So I didn't scream. I simply said, "Get out." Daniel cried. He apologized. He promised it was a mistake. He said Sarah meant nothing. He begged me to think about our family. But there was one sentence I will never forget. He said, "Can't you just forgive me for Lily's sake?" I looked at him and said, "Don't use our daughter to make me stay with a man who betrayed me." That was the day my marriage ended. The divorce wasn't easy. There were lawyers. Arguments. Money problems. Custody discussions. There were nights when I sat alone in my apartment wondering whether I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. But every morning Lily woke up. And every morning I had a reason to keep going. I went back to work. I finished my degree. I started saving. Slowly, painfully, I rebuilt my life. Daniel eventually moved away. And for several years we barely spoke. Lily was 12 when Daniel came back into our lives. He wasn't the same man. At least not on the outside. He wore expensive suits. Drove a luxury SUV. Had a beautiful office downtown. From social media, it looked like he had built an incredible life. I didn't care. I had built my own. I owned a small marketing company. It wasn't glamorous. But it was mine. I had employees. Clients. A home I loved. And most importantly, peace. Then one Tuesday afternoon, I received a phone call. It was Daniel. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Emily. His voice sounded different. Weak. What's wrong? There was a long silence. Then he said, I need your help. I nearly laughed. You need my help? Yes. What happened? His company was collapsing. He had apparently taken out several large business loans. A major client had terminated their contract. His investors were pulling out. And worse, he had personally guaranteed millions of dollars in debt. He had 30 days to fix the situation. Otherwise, he could lose everything. Then he said the words I never expected. You're the only person I know who understands how to fix this. I stared at the wall. 12 years ago, he had chosen another woman over our family. Now he needed the woman he abandoned to save him. We met at a coffee shop. Daniel looked exhausted. Not the confident businessman from his photos. Just a tired man. He slid a folder across the table. I need you to review this. I opened it. His company wasn't simply struggling. It was drowning. Bad contracts. Overspending. Poor management. And millions tied up in a project that wasn't producing anything. I looked at him. You made a mess. I know. And you want me to fix it? Yes. Why me? He looked down. Because you're good at what you do. I almost smiled. That was the first genuine compliment he'd ever given me. But then he said, I'll pay you whatever you want. I closed the folder. I'm not interested in your money. He looked confused. Then what do you want? I looked directly into his eyes. Nothing. He froze. Nothing. I don't want your company, I don't want your money, I don't want revenge. Then why are you helping me? I stood up. Because Lily needs you to survive. His face changed. For the first time he understood. I wasn't saving him. I was protecting our daughter's future. I spent 3 days reviewing his business. And I discovered something Daniel hadn't told me. His biggest problem wasn't the bank. It wasn't the investors. It wasn't even the failing project. It was Sarah. The same woman he'd cheated with. She had become his business partner years later. And she controlled a major part of the company. I asked Daniel about it. He looked embarrassed. She came back into my life years ago. I shook my head. You married her. He nodded. Apparently, after our divorce, Daniel and Sarah eventually married. But their relationship had become toxic. She controlled company finances. She had been transferring money into another account. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Daniel hadn't been betrayed by a stranger. He had built his second life around the same person who helped destroy his first. And now she was leaving him with the consequences. I gave Daniel one piece of advice. Hire a forensic accountant and a lawyer. He stared at me. Will you stay? No. Emily, please. I shook my head. You don't need me anymore. But I thought you were going to save me. I smiled sadly. No, Daniel. I was going to show you how to save yourself. 6 months later, Daniel's company survived. Barely. He lost most of his assets. Sarah disappeared after the financial investigation began. And Daniel had to rebuild his life from almost nothing. For the first time, he understood what I had experienced 12 years earlier. Starting over. Feeling ashamed. Not knowing what tomorrow would look like. But unlike me, he had chosen his situation. I hadn't. One evening, Daniel came to my house to pick up Lily. Before leaving, he stopped at the door. Emily. Yes. I've been thinking about something. I waited. He said. You were pregnant when I betrayed you. I nodded. And you still helped me 12 years later. I didn't answer. He swallowed hard. I don't understand how you did that. I smiled. I didn't help you because I forgave you. He looked confused. I helped you because I forgave myself. He didn't say anything. I continued. For years I thought your cheating meant I wasn't enough. But it never had anything to do with my worth. That was your choice. And I finally learned that someone else's betrayal doesn't get to decide who I become. Daniel looked down. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry." This time I believed him. But I didn't take him back. I didn't need to. Because the greatest revenge wasn't watching him lose his money. It wasn't seeing him beg. It wasn't proving that I had become successful without him. The greatest revenge was waking up one morning and realizing I didn't hate him anymore. I simply didn't need him. And sometimes that's what freedom really looks like.